Mississippi Economic Council. We're the state chamber of commerce. We're supported by businesses throughout the state of Mississippi. We're the largest business organization that has a variety of businesses that take part in what we do. And we really focus on issues that are important to them: education, workforce development, economic development, business climate, all of those things that matter. Today is our annual Capital Day event. It's a legislative reception event that allows us to bring our members from all over the state of Mississippi down to Jackson. We had a morning session, and then we went to the Capitol and heard from legislative leaders, and now this is our luncheon reception where they just get a chance to visit and catch up with everybody. It's a great way for them to come in from other parts of the state and see their legislator, why their legislators in Jackson.
We need the launch. Let's launch the session.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff at dawn, the dawn of Orion, and a new era of American space exploration.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, why is that important? That was made in Mississippi. Made in Mississippi. Anything that was white on that rocket was made in Iuka, Mississippi by Mississippians. And the folks from ATK are here. Stand up, folks, from Iuka, Mississippi. John Kane and his team, they're here somewhere. I don't know where they are. There he is. Okay. Rockets. The new dawn of American space exploration. The Orion rocket that launched off from Cape Canaveral in early December. That's the rocket that will be taking America to Mars. And where was it made? Iuka, Mississippi. Where were those rockets tested? Stennis Space Center. One part of the state and the other. Space exploration. The dawn of America's new day in space started in Mississippi. Let's give ourselves another round of applause for that. You know, it's exciting. It's exciting to know what good resources we have here. And of course, that's what MEC likes to do, is celebrate it. And every year we get to celebrate with a new chair who comes in and brings a lot of experience to the table. Alvino Castilla is the chair of the board. He's partner at Butler Snow. He's a tax counsel. And I will tell you, folks, he's very involved in the community in so many ways and brings an insight to his leadership of MEC that really brings a lot to the table. So please join me to welcome us here this morning in welcoming Alvino Castilla, the chair of MEC. Alvina?
Well, we're here today to focus on issues of importance to Mississippi's future and to hear from some of our state leaders. But it is really you that makes Capital Day a success. There aren't many states that can pull together community and professional and business leaders to a session like this. And look at this room, it's almost already filled. But this turnout is a great signal. And when hundreds of our private sector leaders stream into the Capitol to meet with their legislators. And so we always look forward to Capitol Day. So when you're over at the Capitol this morning, we encourage you to seek out your legislators and your representatives and senators and speak with them and encourage them to come back over here at around 11:45 to join us for lunch. 3 times a year at Hobnob here at Capitol Day, and then again at our annual meeting in April, MEC asks you to come to Jackson to interact, and folks are here today from every corner of the state. And right now, we are halfway through, MEC is about halfway through our regional roundups and roundtables, which are being held in some 28 communities across the state. And these are listening sessions, listening and feedback sessions where we are soliciting input from the communities about the issues of prime importance to the business community. And that helps MEC implement its blueprint and strategy and other programs. So those are very important. So we hope when those roundtables and roundups come to your area, that you will seek them out and join in the conversation. It's very important. And we want to certainly appreciate and thank Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi for their great sponsorship of the roundtables and roundups. And that makes it's an ambitious endeavor, and their support makes that possible. But for today, we are here again in the capital city, and we have a great opportunity for network and sharing. So again, on behalf of MEC, thank you for being here on this cold morning. We've already had the liftoff, very creative, as always, Blake. Thank you. And now I'll turn it back over to Blake to take us to the next segment of the program. Thank you for being here.
And our next speaker is someone who is passionate and committed to moving this state forward. Someone who says, we can't keep looking at things the same way we always have. We can't keep just constantly kind of apologizing for what others may say about Mississippi. We have to be able to focus on the things that are good about Mississippi. And in your place is a sheet that can talk about some of these things. Every state has problems and challenges. Every state has opportunities. And a person who is helping us maximize our opportunities is the governor of our state. Please join me in welcoming someone who every day wakes up and says, how do I give more Mississippians a job? How do we get more people working? And how do we move to the top in our ability to recruit businesses like PACCAR and Toyota and Nissan, and we can go on down the line, including Yokohama, which has just been announced recently, which will be 2,000 jobs in Clay County. This is a jobs-focused governor. Please join me in welcoming the governor of our great state, the Honorable Phil Bryant.
Thank you, Blake. Great job. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Well, I'm sure a lot of people said, you know, it'll be a cold day before Mississippi leads the nation and pre-K education. Here we are. Yeah, thank you very much. When Toby and Bryce got up to speak, I thought, what a difference just a few years have made. Now, Toby's been there a while. I think Bryce may be starting, or hopefully will start his second term as a senator. But just a few years ago, we were dealing with pre-K in this state in a difficult sort of way, because the private sector had to step up and say, y'all won't do it, we will. And so Excel by 5 was there. And then one day, a young lady named Dr. Lori Smith came to my office with Claiborne and Jim Barksdale, and they said, we're going to start this building blocks program. And I said, all right, we've got to be real careful, because there's people that might not like this, but I can tell you how to do it. I can't do what you do, Dr. Smith, but I do this really well. And that's convincing people that leaders do exactly that. We lead. Sometimes we lead when people don't particularly care for what we're doing, and so we have to get out there and convince them that this early childhood education program was our future for our children. And you've done that. The men and women in this room that represent the business, the State Chamber of Commerce got out front of it, so it was a little hard to think it was some socialist plot when the MEC was out there pushing hard every day. And Blake is absolutely right. This year we'll put $6 million, $3 million, and I'm going to support Bryce and Toby as we look at putting another $3 million into the collaborative program, another $3 million into building blocks. I can tell you, as we look at what is occurring now within our school system, we never dreamed we would be where we're at within that pre-K program. Now we've got to add that to kindergarten and to elementary school and to middle school. And so our literacy program, our third grade gate is pretty radical. It's fairly radical. It basically says a child can't proceed to the fourth grade unless he can read on a fourth grade level. And that's going to be a little tough love. I know I had to repeat the third grade. Yeah, I'm dyslexic. So I've had some moderate success in life. So believe me, it's not going to destroy their self-esteem to make sure that we stop that assembly line and teach these children how to read. And so to do that, we've got to invest in before we get to that stopping point on the assembly line, and that's where pre-K is at. I was talking to a group last night, and I said, just 3 years ago, I would have told you, we have some plans. One of the plans will make sure that we grow our revenue by 3 to 3.5% every year. A total of 10% over the next 3 years is my goal. So, for example, this year we're projected to grow by 3%, $166 million more. If I would have told you we'll have a $6.2 billion budget, that will be more money in the general fund than ever in the state of Mississippi. If I would have told you at the same time my plan is to fill the rainy day fund, so we're going to put aside $412 million in savings in the event that we have another Katrina, another 2008. If I'd have told you all of that and would have said also we're going to make sure that we don't take any one-time money and spend it for reoccurring expenses. Now I can tell you I was campaigning 3 years ago and my campaign staff would have come up and said, please don't say that anymore. Because you know what you just said, you're going to balance the budget, you're going to grow revenue in 3 years by over 10%, you're going to fill the rainy day fund, you're not going to have any one-time money for reoccurring expenses. That's just probably not going to happen, and people are going to say, well, he just didn't succeed. And I said, oh yeah, and then we're going to tell them we're going to lead the nation in pre-K. And then we're going to tell them we're going to have charter schools and failing school districts. And then I'm going to tell them we're going to reduce teen pregnancy in Mississippi by 15%. They would have said, oh, no, please don't say that. Please don't say it. All those things have happened and are happening today here in Mississippi. Now, I have been going throughout the state doing a little cheerleading, and I hope you look at this. Take a good close look at it, pull it out, fold it up, take it home. Next time you go to the barbershop, pull this thing out, because everybody there is going to say, where'd you get that from? Where did you find out that Area Development Magazine has rated Mississippi as number 9 in the nation for economic development? Now, Area Development Magazine, let me tell you who they are. Those are the site selectors. Those are the professional people that say, we go from state to state and we look at the conditions and we determine whether or not we can tell our clients, this is a good state for you to go to and help build your business. So we're in the top 10 in the nation. And every organization has a national organization, and the National Organization for Economic Development Associations rate the states. Now, you always hear that we're at the bottom of all the good lists and the top of all the bad ones. Just take an idea, take a guess if you would, where our MDA, our Mississippi Development Authority, is at in ratings of all the states for economic development entities. Number 9. Brent Christensen, I hope, is here this morning with some of his team. If you're here with MDA, stand up. Brent, there you are. Stand up, guys. Number 9 in the nation, economic development entity. Now, believe me, it really would have been good to have a top 10 football team. I was hoping like all of you, but to have a world-class economic development entity is just as important for the state of Mississippi. Great things are on here. One of the ones that I really love to talk about, and we'll talk a little bit more about legislation in a minute. One of the things that I really love, American Express did some review of women-owned businesses, because apparently women are buying businesses and growing businesses, and we know that here in Mississippi. And so they rated the states. You want to know where we're at? We're number 5 for the growth of women-owned businesses. Now, that's just not supposed to happen. The national narrative says that's just impossible, that Mississippi could be number 5 in the nation for women-owned and growing businesses. Now, you ask any guy in Mississippi and they go, oh yeah, I get that. Oh yeah, get out of their way. Now, I've told other governors if they need me to come to their states and tell them how we do it, I'd be glad to do so. I could convince them to unleash the power and the dynamic economic resources within the women within their state. Because I'm very, very proud of surprising people. I'm not sure that it's on here. I hadn't got my glasses on, but I will tell you that they also do a review of the average income And, you know, we always see, well, the average household income is low in the state of Mississippi, but this particular study went a step further. It says, looking at the cost of living in your state, how does Mississippi compare with the rest of the nation? So we're 16% higher in the revenue in our income than the rest of the nation. So if you make $100 in Mississippi, you're actually on a national level making $116. If you're in Washington, D.C., you're actually making $86 because of the cost of living. So if you come to Mississippi, you get a 16% raise. You're welcome. Now, that's never factored in, but if you look at the average household income that everyone goes around and says is very low in Mississippi and add it 16% to that, all of a sudden things begin to change. I was state auditor, so I'm kind of stubborn about digging down and looking at some numbers and comparing what we're going to do. And so obviously we're going to look at the budget this year very closely, because I think at that $166 million, you'll see additional money put into education. My EBR, my executive budget recommendation, I think I read somewhere that someone said, well, they really appreciate the governor putting out that budget in case there's an uneven table, they can use it to straighten the leg. No, I think that actually the legislature does pay some attention to it. And we've got about $52 million in there more for MEP this year. I will predict that this year the Mississippi legislature will spend more money from the general fund on education than any time in history. That includes $46 million for the second portion of a $100 million teacher pay raise. $100 million for teacher pay raises. I think we ought to find the best teachers that we can and pay them well. That's not rocket science. And we're doing just that. Now, if you look at all that we did in 2013, the literacy program, the teacher pay raise, the pre-K programs that we began to then get the government involved in. What a year it was, offering scholarships to children to make a 28 on the ACT. What I said was we will pay completely for your college if you want to go in and be a teacher. Yeah, if somebody makes a 28 on their ACT, we've got to get them into a college program if they want to become a teacher and incentivize them to go and do that by paying them well. It all works together. Now we're looking at workforce development. Well, I'll talk about a plan, I hope in the State Address. We're working out the details just now where I think in the next 2 years we can put over $50 million into workforce training that will go to our community colleges through the SWIB board, our State Workforce Investment Board. You're familiar with that? Well, not everybody is. Because about a decade ago, Governor Barber, in his first term, decided that we needed one entity that workforce development, it was managed through, and that every day that executive director, that individual woke up and said, my job is to make sure Mississippi has the best workforce in the nation, and live through every day. And our community colleges do a remarkable job. I'm a community college product. I can tell you, us little blue-collar kids back in the 70s, many of us would have never made it without a community college. I didn't have a car that would make it to a university. Yeah, I would have been fixing it along Highway 49 trying to get to Hattiesburg. But those community colleges were out there, and they're out there today, and they're training our workforce, and we're going to find additional money to put into programs to help them do it. We must do it so we can announce to the nation that Mississippi are serious about workforce training in the state of Mississippi. And it's going to begin, obviously, in education. Tech Masters program is phenomenal. I'm national chairman this year of Jobs for American Graduates. JAG is a 30-year-old program that began with Governor DuPont back in Delaware. Yeah, Blake remembers that. He was around Delaware at that time. Governor DuPont came up with this idea that we're going to intervene in middle school and high schools. We're going to find those children that are at risk of dropping out, and we're going to say, you can be a technician. We can design a program for you that you can be a master welder, a master electrician. You can be a medical assistant. And over the years, we've reached 1 million students in the last 30 years. I was in Washington, D.C. just a couple of weeks ago when I was taking the reins of the presidency or the chairmanship for JAG, and our 1 millionth student came on stage. It has a 90% success rate. Imagine that, 90% of the children that become part of Mississippi's Jobs for American Graduates are successful. They get out of school and they find jobs. Now, I know I go around the state and I brag about all the good things that are happening because I get excited. Because I'm a little boy from Moorhead, Mississippi, who was born to a working class family, who had to repeat the 3rd grade because he was dyslexic, who I'm sure a lot of people, if you look at Mississippi and look at my wonderful story, because the fortunate life I had with good parents and good folks that intervened, good teachers, you know, I'm sure a lot of people would have said that poor kid's not going to make it. That poor kid's struggling to read. He's in a blue-collar family. He just doesn't have a lot of opportunity. No one in his family has ever gone to college. Most of them have not made it out of high school. But if we believe we can achieve great things, not only as an individual, and if we can instill, and I think we have, as you see those children on that video, if you instill in them they can accomplish great things, then they will. But if we don't believe it collectively as a state, if we do not believe Mississippi can achieve greatness, we will not. When I called Joe Sanderson to ask him to help us save a PGA tournament, if I had called him and I would have said, Joe, you know, we got this golf tournament, it looks like it's going to fold up. And you know, a lot of years it rains, and you know, we're in competition with this other PGA tournament that most of the big guys go to, and I don't know, would you kind of help run this thing for us and maybe do it? If it doesn't work, don't worry about it. What would Joe's attitude have been? I think even Joe would have said, look, if the governor doesn't have, if he doesn't believe, if he doesn't have faith, if he doesn't believe this can be something great, why should I? But I called Joe and I said, Joe, your leadership ability is unparalleled in this state. We've got some people who are there with you, but you do a tremendous job. The company of yours is fantastic. We can take this tournament and look, people in the past have worked on it since 1968. We can build upon the success that they've had and add to it, and this can be a PGA tournament that all the world will begin to watch. Mississippi will be on the golf tournament. Before you know it, we're going to generate world-class players. Maybe we even, Joe said we're going to probably need to move it to a different time of the year. And I said, you do what you want to do, because I know it's going to be the right thing. And you heard just the other day as we were standing at Blair E. Batson, over $1 million, double the amount of money that we're able to contribute to the Children's Hospital. Doubled it. Amazing. But we believed, Century Club believed, people involved in it believed that this could be something dynamic, and in fact, it is. So, as we go into this legislative session, I may dare predict that you'll hear some disagreements on the floor of the House and Senate. You'll hear some heated debate. That's all right. Those are men and women of passion, and I respect every one of them. But at the end of this 90-day session, I think you're going to see some remarkable things. I think you're going to see a workforce training program that is going to grab the attention of the rest of the nation. I think you're going to see the franchise tax revisited because it's holding us back. I hope we can give a little tax cut, a little raise to the working men and women of the state of Mississippi. I think you're going to see more money put into education than ever before. I think you're going to see more funding of the collaborative effort. I think you're going to see some dynamic things that will come out of that. Will it be easy? Not at all. Will everybody agree? No. But I will sit there and sign those bills that will continue to move Mississippi forward, and in large part because you have been engaged in the process. MEC has made all the difference, and I thank you for it. Now let's go to work. Thank you, Blake. Well, it's going to be workforce development. This is the message that all Mississippians need to be talking about. We've done a very good job of recruiting industry and expanding existing industry. Our problem just now is the pressure on the workforce is exceeding the demand, the numbers we have. Demand is exceeding what we're able to produce just now. Now, we're going to put a plan in today and talk about it. We've got a great tech prep program within our high schools, tech masters through MEC. It is going to be our single most important effort during this legislative session is putting our workforce first.
Tell us, what is that going to mean in terms of the momentum that we've seen so far in jobs and economic development in Mississippi?
It just means additional growth. And this starts very early. It starts in pre-K, if you will, to make sure that children are prepared to learn, and our third grade gate so they can read when they go into the fourth grade. And then they graduate from high school. If they want to be in a career program or a college-ready program, they have that opportunity. But it means that we can go around the world and bring more manufacturing and growth here to Mississippi and know that we have the best workforce in the world to do so.
What kind of a competitive environment is there not only throughout the South, but throughout the nation and the world?
Oh, it's very difficult. We're not only competing with Alabama and Texas and Tennessee, we're competing with China now and Vietnam. And so it's a very difficult market to be able to go into and say our workforce is not only affordable, but the best trained in the world. Our community colleges do a great job, and so we're going to make sure we just step it up.
What potential does this offer for Mississippi?
I think it offers Mississippi the potential to be a leader in advanced manufacturing. If you look at, we make the most advanced warships on the planet in Ingalls. We have 120 aerospace industries in the state of Mississippi. Our medical industry is growing every day, and so I think we can move to that new level that I've been talking about for the last 3 years.
Your reaction to MEC's involvement in the legislative process?
We just couldn't do it without them. If you look at the impact they have, particularly on this day, as they come to the Mississippi legislature and tell leaders and members of the Mississippi Senate and House how important business is. We're looking at the franchise tax. If we could slowly do away with that, it would make us more competitive. Again, back to our educational structure, to make sure that we honor young men and women that want to be technicians. You know, we don't want to say everyone must go to a university. If you want to be an honored technician in your high school and in your community college and even in an IHL workforce training program, we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to do that.
Your reaction to everything you've seen here today?
Oh, I get very excited. I can't tell you, without this group, without MEC, Mississippi would be failing. We would not have the success without the effort that Mississippi Economic Council has put forward.